Welcome to the CrossFit Canada podcast, telling the stories of Canadian affiliate owners and coaches. And as we've launched this thing, we've tried to reach quite literally to all four corners of the country, east, north, west. And today we have Canada. I don't know if you've ever actually stopped and looked or thought about that, but as far as the map shows, I believe you are Canada's southernmost affiliate. John
Yeah,
Mack from All Level CrossFit. So welcome.
thank you for having me. I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, I know that where we're situated, we're about as far south as you get in Canada, to the point that Detroit is to the north of us. So the U.S. is to the north of Canada in this spot.
What's some unique? Well, actually, no. Sorry. Before we get, I get excited and start to get in that. So we start with any new guest, just like a visitor or drop in your class. We do question of the day. So even though we did go over it, you're going to introduce yourself, tell us the name of your affiliate, and favorite flavor of ice cream.
Ooh, okay. John Mack, All Level CrossFit. We are in Windsor, Ontario, Canada. I've been coaching for, I guess, 11 years now, and the affiliate's been around for just had its 12th anniversary. My favorite flavor of ice cream, I'm going to have to go with Moose Tracks. Moose Tracks. Let's keep it Canadian. Go Moose Tracks.
There you go. And I mean, I feel like this kills the conversation, but we didn't come here to talk about ice cream. But I will agree, Moose Tracks is my favorite as well. It's my go-to at the ice cream shop that's walkable from where I am.
For sure.
So I always like to start, I love the how you got into CrossFit stories. No matter what, they're always interesting to me. So let's start there. How did John Mack get into CrossFit?
This one's, I think, a pretty interesting one.
Okay.
I lived in the Cayman Islands for 7 years, and
already very interesting.
And when I was in the Cayman Islands, I got into MMA, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and MMA. And one of my friends came in and said, "Hey, I'm going to bring you to this gym we've started going to, CrossFit Cayman, and I want to put you through a workout designed for MMA fighters, Fight Gone Bad." And so he brought myself and another guy from my MMA gym into the gym. There was nobody in there, kind of ran us through Fight Gone Bad. I tell this story a lot because at the end of it, I thought that I had crushed the workout. I was like, "Oh, I smashed it." And he's like, "No, not very good. Like maybe average, something like that." And I'm like, "Are you sure? Like, I feel like I really did well." And he's like, "No, I think my score was maybe 200 reps." Right. So, not good. And so after that, I was hooked because I want to be good at things, and it tied into what I love is, being physical at the time, doing MMA, all the things about CrossFit just kind of clicked for where I was at. And so I started doing it there in the Cayman Islands. He ended up the person that put me through the workout, Carl, shout out Carl Brenton, still in the Cayman Islands. He opened his own gym not too long after that. So we migrated over to that one, CrossFit 7 Mile. Sadly, they closed, I think, about a year ago. But yeah, that was my first experience with CrossFit, fell in love, came back, told my friends in London, Ontario, or just outside of London, Ontario, what I was doing and how I loved it. And then I ended up opening a gym with them, a few years later.
So were you living? So you were living in Cayman Islands at the time.
Yeah.
And then how long before you moved back to Ontario?
So I think I was introduced to CrossFit about 2010, maybe 2009, 2010. I ended up moving back to Ontario. I moved to Toronto in 2011, and then we opened CrossFit All Level CrossFit in 2013 in Windsor, Ontario. So a little bit of a journey there, but that the CrossFit bug that got me in the Cayman Islands stuck with me, and really bit hard, and here we are 12 years later.
So you were with All Levels since its inception. Mm-hmm. Still the same group that started it, or how has that ownership changed, if at all?
It's morphed a little bit. Yeah.
Right.
We had a husband and wife, with myself and a husband and wife as partners. Unfortunately, they split up. He is still one of my partners, but uh, she was replaced by my new partner, another husband wife team, DJ Smith and his wife Christy. You might recognize DJ's name. He's was the head coach of the Ottawa Senators, and now is the assistant coach of the Los Angeles Kings.
So lives off season in the area and then commutes back and forth, or okay.
Yeah. He's from the area, the Windsor area, and obviously he goes wherever the hockey team tells him to go. But yeah, he's back for a couple months in the summer with his wife and kids, and they're constants at the gym when they are here, and then keep tabs on what's going on wherever they are, whether it be Ottawa, Montreal, now LA. So yeah.
Very cool. So right away from the beginning, there's always interesting stories about either how an affiliate got started or the ownership structure as it evolves. I think what we're seeing now as we record this, 2025, is you're starting to see multiple partners take over an affiliate. Maybe that owner has decided to move on. And so how did you guys navigate a multi-person partnership from the beginning?
From the beginning, it was pretty much a division of labor. You're going to be in charge of this, and I'm going to be in charge of that. We all had a strong passion for CrossFit and fitness, and wanted it to bring it to Windsor, Ontario, where we had all met in university. So it was about, looking back on those times, we were all pretty naive in terms of how to run a business. But, it was like, okay, you're going to be in charge of this, and you're going to be in charge of that, and you're going to coach these classes, and I'm going to coach those classes. And as I guess the CrossFit landscape and ourselves as, business people have evolved, it's gotten a little more refined. I definitely not going to say we've got it all figured out, but, the other two partners now are not really involved in the day-to-day operations. That's mostly me, and I have, a couple full-time coaches and some part-time coaches. But in the beginning, it was just kind of trial and error. What's working, what's not working. We're writing our own programming. We're doing foundations like this, on-ramp like that. Just kind of making our way through it. I think that the constant throughout that was just that we really loved what we were doing. We were excited about it, and that kind of showed through to the members, to our athletes, and helped us get through those times where we really didn't have a lot of knowledge to back up, what we wanted to do.
Yeah, and I mean, it sounds like you guys started your affiliate just as CrossFit was starting that upturn, where basically like you just had to say the word CrossFit and 5 people would say, "What is it? I want to try it." What were those early days like for you guys? 2012 into 2016.
Yeah, I mean, looking back, I mean, we've gone through a location change, a rebrand, all that kind of stuff. Back then, it was kind of the first love sort of thing, where you're enamored by everything about the methodology, and still am. But I mean, it was new enough to everybody in the city of Windsor as well, that that, like you said, CrossFit was new and it was exciting. We knew it worked. We were excited to share it with everybody, and really good times, because my kids, my first daughter was born in 2014. My second daughter is born in 2016. So they literally grew up in the gym along with a bunch of other kids from parents that went there as well too. So those were really cool times for us. We worked long hours. We worked really, really hard. Not to say we don't now, but
Sure.
It was a grind for sure. But just exciting to share that methodology with people, and see the changes that were happening in them, and see the community start to grow and kind of flourish. It was really fun times. I mean, I think we're at I want to say a more refined point now, but
Right.
but being in the business for 10, 11 plus years, I look back on those years, both with, wow, I don't want to have to go through that again, but man, those were awesome.
Yeah, and that's why I'm always interested for those who have been through those times. I started doing CrossFit not as an owner, but in 2012, and then began coaching in 2013. And I just remember it was like, the Greg days in a way, in the sense of you used to just pulverize people with intensity, and that worked so well. It just brought in this group of people who were like, what was that? I want more of it. But then go from 2016 into now 2020 and beyond, we're in a more evolved state of the business. Would you agree? Or
100%. I mean, I know back then that stuff that would not fly today, was just kind of, it was part and parcel of the whole experience. Our first location definitely wasn't as polished. It had all sorts of remnants of the former machine shop on the ceilings and the walls, and the bathrooms were definitely not something that we wanted to show everybody all the time. They were shared with other businesses, and it wasn't where we are now, but it was that kind of time where the box was the box. It was like you were looking for a garage door, you were looking for open space, rig on the wall. It didn't really matter. Don't want to say it didn't matter, but you weren't as concerned with the branding, the image. You just wanted to get in there and work out and have people work out with you. And I think that flew back then, and now people's are a bit more refined. There's a lot more choice. They see stuff where you definitely have to have a bit more of a polished and professional image, and we're more than happy to do that, and that's where we are now. But back then, I think your friend was doing your logo for like a free month and a t-shirt, and people were slapping paint in the wall with you, and that was the kind of stuff. It was a real do-it-yourself kind of attitude, and now we have more tools to rely on. We have more companies that provide mentorship. We have more direction from HQ itself on, hey, here's a toolkit, here's some stuff to use, where back then it was just kind of fly by the seat of your pants, I think.
Yeah, and I do want to get into that stuff, because I have been on your website. I've seen your pictures. The facility looks amazing. I'm a big believer in like putting yourself into those pieces. And I mean, already you get bonus points for having your directory page updated with your team, which is great.
Yeah.
But I do wonder about, I'd be interested in your perspective on this, is like finding some sort of balance in the sense of passion and excitement just kept the engine rolling. And there was a lot of, hey, can you help me with this? Right. And it'd be interesting you having a partnership, but I wonder if somewhere along the way, the passion and the excitement stayed for most affiliate owners, but maybe there was less asking of, hey, can you help me with this? And that lack of asking for help can lead to the burnout feelings and whatnot. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I still ask for help
Sure.
from a lot of members. I always say that if there's anything you need to find, any service you need to find, you can find it in the gym, right? Like from carpentry to machine shops to people who can help you sell your house to buy a car. All those things, everything is in your gym. You just have to kind of ask. But I think it was a lot more of a DIY attitude back then, where people saw that there was holes that needed to be filled, literally in the walls, and stuff that needed to be done. We still have a great community that's willing to pitch in and do stuff, when it needs to get done, whether that be moving in one of our members to a new home, or helping us with some moving equipment or whatever that might be. But I think that it is, the business now has gone from being kind of in its infancy, where people are like, we need to help out to make sure this gets through it, to the point where like, okay, well, this is more under your control and your responsibility. we can help you paint, but we're not going to help you paint the whole thing, right? Like when we first moved in, for sure, people were painting all, like even to our new space, they helped us paint everything and helped us remodel. But I think that it is to a point where now the business has been around and is established, and there's a certain level or a certain expectation that things should work the way they should work, and they're going to get done regardless of whether we have an afternoon where everyone has pizza and beer and moves mats around.
Yeah, for sure. What was over the course of this time frame? Can you recall a high point where things were just cooking, everything was great, but within that was maybe a trap? Like things are cooking, it's caused me to think this, and it's like, ooh, that actually now, with the wisdom of experience, maybe success wasn't always the best teacher.
Yeah, I think that to that point, I think when we moved into our new space, we kind of had the attitude of, if we build it, they'll come.
Okay.
If we have a gorgeous new space and we've got a bunch of new equipment and we've got all the things, then people are just going to flock to the gym. And I don't think that's necessarily the case, right? Like if they don't know you're there and they don't know what the service you provide and the changes you can make, that having the shiniest equipment and having the nicest space might not fill you up, right? Might not fill up the gym. And I think that that's a lesson we learned, is that like, just because you have space and you have capacity doesn't mean it's going to get filled without the hard work and without the proper processes and tools and all the things to put the people in there. I think that making sure that you are ready to expand and you have a good plan in place and you have the process in place to receive those people and make sure they get the right treatment is really important before you go and say, you know what, we need 12,000 square feet. And you're like, well, do you need 12,000 square feet?
For sure. And I like where you touched upon getting the right people and processes in place. What were some of the early elements of that you implemented where you saw an immediate, I guess, saw a result?
Yeah. So, I mean, right from, going from, I guess, our on-ramp process and how the consult process works, just, I guess, the sales process and following up on leads and making sure that that whole process is consistent, from the on-ramp, from the consult through to their first experience at the gym. I think that's super, super important. If people show up for a consult and you're not prepared, or you forgot about it, or they're standing at the front door while the people have their shirts off and the music's blaring and stuff's getting thrown around and they just want to leave. I think that those are the first impressions are really important. And when you have that sorted out, I think things get a lot easier. I'll share a quick story with you.
Yeah.
At our old location, garage doors were up. It was in between classes. Someone was coming to check out the gym. They pulled up into the parking lot. Two of our members, who happened to be twin brothers and really big dudes, had their shirts off and were bench pressing by themselves in the gym. Story has it that those two people just turned around and left. They're like, I don't know, shirtless guys bench pressing in an empty gym didn't send the right message for what we were trying to get across. I mean, it's part of what happened, but it wasn't maybe a great first impression to try to get people to say, hey, CrossFit's for anybody, you can do it. So I think taking care of some of the stuff like that was very important.
So you have I don't know if you would use the word refined, you maybe, but like you're from lead to introduction to the gym to onboarding to joining classes. Do you have a fairly refined process with that? And if so, what is it?
It's definitely continually being refined, but
Okay.
but yeah. So I mean, now that we've kind of got our website in tune with the member management and the CRM that we use, where we can keep track of where a lead comes from, keep in contact with them through various methods, through SMS, through social media, through email. not always the first time they're on the website are they going to go ahead and come in for a consult, but that process where we can follow up, we can set an appointment that sends reminders to both the person responsible for the appointment and the person who's having the appointment, to their first consult, having your sales binder ready, having your kind of script on point, to where they first come into the gym, whether that's through some one-on-one training or even the introduction of some ambassador members. So saying, hey, your first class here, Jane is going to be your ambassador member, and she's going to kind of walk you through the class. The coaches know that they're coming. The member is there to say hi and answer any questions that they're maybe embarrassed to ask the coach. So that whole process has become a lot more refined than like just show up and we'll see what happens kind of thing. Because that we thought that everyone's going to be wowed by CrossFit, and but I think a lot of people need a little more convincing. Obviously, we're inside it and we love it with a passion, but other people need to feel a lot more comfortable, and that front door can be pretty heavy sometimes.
For sure, absolutely. And what I like, this isn't obviously a push press sales, but you have a push press site, and that's an investment. How has that returned? And I guess I want it for the tens of people listening to this, is like, someone might try to weigh, or it's a lot of money, but how has it made your life easier?
It's definitely made nurturing and getting leads a lot easier, because honestly, before that, if someone calls or emails, or they didn't have a way to text us really before, unless they had a personal number of one of the coaches, those were pretty easy to fall through the cracks. Now with push press and push press grow, the CRM that we use, if someone is on the website and they go into the chat bubble, I'm going to get a message, or someone's going to get a message. If someone requests rates or a contact us or submits a form, people get messaged by SMS and internally and through email. And it really helps you keep track of the leads. Even if you're not able to respond at that time, they're going to get an autoresponder and start into an automation that sends a message to them at whatever that frequency is, and says, hey, just want to let you know we're still here if you have any questions. So I think it's made tracking leads, people interested in the gym, a lot easier. We use it to send our newsletters, to organize leads, to have conversations with members, and to keep retention top of mind by, it sends us message and says, Joe hasn't attended class in 7 days. Should we reach out? And for sure. So you do. So it's made all those things, lead acquisition, lead nurturing, retention, all that kind of stuff, a little bit easier. And the fact that they all talk to each other, the member management talks to the CRM, which talks to the workout tracking software, makes it a lot easier for someone to handle all that. So yeah, it's been a big help, and I think that it's really increased our ability to track and to nurture and to convert leads.
So it definitely, I guess with any system, it should pay for itself, right? And so It's almost like CrossFit. Like, of course, it's not going to work if you don't use it, but if you use it to its abilities, it's going to work really well.
For sure. And I think that's the thing, is that it's through all those things, through the lead capture, lead conversion, and the big part is too retention. Like it's a very powerful tool for retention too, which, as I'm sure you're quite aware, that it's a lot harder to get a new member than it is to retain a current one. So being able to stay in contact and send messages, I know those are all possible through a cell phone, but being able to have that in front of you and keep those conversations going and get all the conversations in one bucket, rather than having to deal with an Instagram DM, a Facebook message, an SMS, an email, and being able to see all that and how the last time that person was contacted too. So that stuff has been been really valuable in that respect.
Yeah, Daniel Chaffee from France, and he's the international director. He came and spoke to a CrossFit gathering in Montreal 2 years ago, and he explained his lead process. And I mean, at CrossFit Louvre, I think he has 800 members. At Louvre 2, I think he has another 600, and then he has a third affiliate with like 4. So he manages, almost 2,000 people doing CrossFit. And if he explained how his lead process worked and his prospecting. And I think a very fair comment, but an affiliate owner said, what if just after doing this, and this, I just don't have the energy to reach out and do that sales process. But with the tools available, it can be done, and it's much cheaper than hiring someone to do all of it, right?
Yeah, no, I agree. And I've seen some of Daniel's stuff before that he's shared, and I think he's a super organized guy. And I'm going to say that I'm not quite on that level of organization. So having a tool that helps me stay more organized for me is very valuable, because I think he could probably do it with a spreadsheet and and a few other things, whereas I'm pretty reliant on the technology to help me remember things and see where people are in that kind of journey, in that pipeline. I know the pen and paper would probably not work very well for me. So having a tool that helps me stay on top of that is, I think, important, very important for the business now. And it's one of those things where you do look at the cost, you say, wow, it is a lot of money, but is this something we can live without now? And I'm not really sure that we could.
For sure. You said sales binder, so I'm curious, who handles the sales at your affiliate? And if it is you, what do you like about that process?
I'll be honest, it's myself and mainly my brother, who works there as well as a full-time coach, and he's a far superior salesperson to me. But we kind of share that, just depend on what time of the day and when those consults come in. What I do like, though, is that for me, knowing that we have the tool, that we have the methodology, we have the solution for, pretty much anything that anyone brings to us, any goal that they have in health and wellness or fitness, that we have that. Now, I'm not going to say that we, convert every consult to a new member, but knowing that whatever it is, that they want to accomplish, we could help them get there, and we can help them realize what they want to do, is pretty cool. And that's what I like about it, is like, the solution's always CrossFit. Doesn't matter what the problem is that they come in with, whether they know that or not, but knowing that we have that solution for them. And if they're able to like accept the prescription and say, yeah, I'm going to show up, 4 to 5 times a week. I'm going to, take care of my nutrition. I'm going to do the things that I can do outside of the gym to help me succeed in it. Then I know that we can do anything that they want to do, so that's what I like about it. Just knowing that if they're willing to put the work in and they want to do the thing, that we can help them get there.
So it sounds like in your sales process, you spend more time trying to figure out why CrossFit will help that person, as opposed to telling them all about why CrossFit is great.
Yeah. I mean, in the early days, for sure, it was all about me talking and them listening, and just kind of like, how it is if someone who really loves CrossFit starts talking about it, and you're drinking from a fire hose. And now it's more about, okay, what is the issue? What's the problem? What's the goal? And then it will eventually come back to CrossFit as the solution. But for sure, it's about figuring out what the person wants to accomplish. And I think the old adage that you can't ask just once, you have to ask multiple times, I think is very true, because everyone's like, yeah, I want to get toned, or I want to be in shape, I want to be fit. And it's like, okay, cool. But what is driving that? And if you can really get to that, then that's the part where, yeah, well, we can do that. We can help you. We can provide all the things that you want to help you succeed at that thing you want to do.
Well, and what's interesting, it's like, and I don't have my coaches do sales, but coaching in a CrossFit class is about establishing connections, right? And even that day, you're trying to figure out, okay, how can I provide value relative to the workout of the day to figure out about this person? And so, you're trying to ask one more question to each member as you're working through to establish, that's Chuck Carswell's advice, ask one more question. But it's interesting how that carries over directly into sales. And maybe some affiliate owners who struggle with sales don't realize it's just asking questions. And I have a manager, Becky, she does all the sales. She's like, can you give me a book on sales or train me? I was like, just ask questions, and then ask one more, ask one more, ask one more.
Yeah, no, I believe in that. I believe that, you're probably not going to get the full answer on the first question, and that if you can ask a few more and kind of dig a little deeper, that you're going to get to the real reason they walked into the gym, or they called, or they were on the website, or whatever that may be. And I think one thing for us at the gym, and I'm sure it's the same at most gyms too, is that the reason that sales, and it's not an easy process for me, it's something that I'm still learning and still trying to get better at, but the fact that we're also passionate about CrossFit, all the coaches in the gym, CrossFit has changed their lives in one way or the other. So for them to be able to draw on that and say, you know what, I was at this place and it took me to this place, or I found something that really helped me get through this, that I think that shows through as well in that sales process, right? Like, we believe in what we do, right? Everyone's been to someone where they're trying to sell you something and you don't really believe what they're saying, right? But for myself and my brother and some of our coaches, I know that we really believe in what we do, and we believe in the product, so that it makes it a little bit easier to broach that subject, or to get into the sales process, because it's something we are passionate about and we know from experience works, right? Like, everyone at the gym, obviously, it does CrossFit and does CrossFit a lot, and has benefited from that. And so we can pass that enthusiasm on and say, yeah, we've been there. We kind of feel that, and we know that this works.
That's cool. And I really was hanging up on, you believe in it, your brother believes in it, your staff all believe in it. Because you have your level 3 designation, how has that belief in the methodology motivated you to pursue that designation?
It's not only, it is the methodology and learning more about it, but also just a general desire to always be learning, to take courses, to get more education. And it just seemed like a logical step. Like, I'll be honest, when I started CrossFit, I got my level 1 in 2013, and then I didn't get my level 2 until I think 2018, when my level 1 was expiring. And I said, well, I might as well get my level 2. While I was at my level 2, I called my wife and I said, I'm the worst coach in the world. I'm an absolutely terrible coach. And she said, well, yeah, you're a great coach. I said, I'm the worst coach in the world. This is hard, very hard. And then, go through the level 2. And then after that, I started having these, I was like, yeah, you know what? I think that I'm ready for the level 3. I've been doing this for a while. I've been around it. I've coached a fair bit. It seemed like the logical progression. Level 4 is somewhere out there on the horizon. Right now it might be a little farther away than it is close, but it's something that definitely I would like to do in the future. I think that it's just part of the process. The longer you're in it, you need to keep learning and keep growing as a coach. And I think the level 2 really opened my eyes to that. I went into that and thought I was an accomplished, great coach and knew everything. And then after the first day, like I said, I'm the worst coach in the world. And then kind of went through that process and said, okay, now it's time to get more serious and to really refine the craft as a coach, rather than just be a cheerleader.
Well, and so I love how you said, like, it was almost like an epiphany. I didn't know everything. Did that mindset carry you forward into your business ownership? Especially, you look, okay, 2018 is when you went and did your level 2. 2 years later, you're faced with a massive struggle that we all, well, especially in Ontario, we had to work through. So how did that mindset of not having all the answers or not knowing everything actually keep things moving along?
Yeah, I think that's not having the answers and thinking that I knew everything. I mean, that's in the business that came apart. It came about in a couple stages. You know, when we had the first kind of ownership change, a lot of the stuff that was not my responsibility at that time, quote unquote, my responsibility, became my responsibility. The financial side, you know, all that kind of stuff, paying taxes, all those things suddenly became my responsibility. So again, it's kind of like necessity is the mother of invention. When you're forced to do something, um, you you get it done. Either you get it done or you don't. And so it was about learning what I had to do. And I feel like it was the same thing that carried us into COVID. Is that when that first came about, and that was it's another interesting story. But you know, it really puts your back to the wall, and it's like you either evolve and adapt and grow, or you go away. And so, to be honest, and this may sound a little crazy, that at first was a bit exciting, right? Because you are in the day-to-day operations and you're doing stuff, and you know, you come in and do the same stuff every day, and then suddenly it's like you're forced to totally rethink the way that you are going to do business, that you're going to try to survive. And it was, I mean, I'm not going to say the whole of COVID was exciting, but those first little bits is like, how are we going to figure this out? This is a problem. How are we going to solve it, right? And I always like to say that there's usually a solution to everything, but we just have to go through and look at all the possibilities. So that was a time where, yeah, back to the wall. You don't really have a choice. You either learn and adapt, or you go away.
Well, it was the ultimate pressure cooker. And that's what I said. I was like, as long as no one from the government is listening, I can honestly say it was one of the best things that, because it forced so much. You know, I took over my affiliate in September of 2019, and it was like, boom, crash course on 10 years of affiliate ownership in 2 years. And we still do 3 Zoom classes a day.
Oh, wow.
We still have, it's not a lot, but we have about 5 or 6 members who work out from home.
Awesome.
And we have a couple members who do 3 days in the gym, 2 days at home. And we just made that system seamless for everyone, because it's like, hey, if I'm going to go through this shit, I might as well pull something valuable out of it. Just like, hey, do the thrusters unbroken on Fran, and then tell me how it affected your score afterwards. Learn from it, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. You had to take away some stuff from COVID, and it really, you know, we built an outdoor workout space that we still have, that's behind the building for COVID. You know, we've got a rig back there. We've got you know, wall ball targets, all that stuff, because that was part of the evolution and what we needed to do to stay open. And so that, again, going back to that kind of DIY mentality and ethos that I think a lot of box owners have, that was something that really got thrust upon you. And good on you for still doing some Zoom classes. I don't know if I could do that still. Walking into a 7,000 foot square gym and getting in front of a camera, but being the only one in there. But definitely some of the technological stuff that we did during that time, and the community that we really worked hard to keep together over that time too, taught us some lessons, you know, going forward, like how important it is to keep your finger on the pulse of the community and keep people, you know, engaged.
Well, and it's doing all the right things for all the right people for all the right reasons, right? And I'm guessing, based on what you're saying, that's just your main motivator. Is it's one thing to say your community is your motivator, but then to have the actions to back it up is a different story. And would you say that is a big motivator for you guys?
For sure. We have you know, I think every gym says they have an amazing community, right? But and I believe it's probably true. We have a phenomenal community. We do a lot of, you know, cool things, and it's important that you keep your community engaged. And as I'm learning even more as I get farther into this, that you have to listen to them as well too, right? it's not a one-way street, and that getting feedback, as hard as it is sometimes, it is super valuable too. Being able to get stuff from the community that might hurt your feelings a little bit is going to help you push in the right direction once you've processed that and know how to do it and know how to go forward.
Yeah, we were getting really busy at 4:30 and 5:30, but then no one was coming to 6:30 class. So I was like, what if we adjust it 4, 5, and 6? Let's just move it up a half hour. And so we trialed it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I sent out an email and I was like, hey, it's just a trial. And it was interesting how so many people who were like worried about wait lists and classes full, not getting into class, were like, no, like we've all talked. We want it to stay at 4:30. I'm like, okay, this is your guys' choice. I just want you guys to know I'm trying something. I'm aware we're trying something, but if this is what you guys want, then go for it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, we're still developing a feedback process that probably needs to be more robust as well too, and maybe a bit more structured. But just the fact that being able to listen to that kind of stuff and weigh the benefits and sometimes admit that, yeah, I'm way off, or I'm not right, or I was wrong with that decision, and kind of walk it back if you have to. I mean, you've been there. It's not fun, but it's part of, I think, growth as a leader and a business owner. Is like, yeah, you have to be able to admit your mistakes, because otherwise, if you're not admitting them, you're not getting better from them, because you're not acknowledging that it actually happened. So part of the process with the community as well is just, is looking to them as well, not just thinking that you always have the answer.
For sure. So speaking of having the answers, if you could now get back in your DeLorean and not to like opening, but within that first year, what's some advice that you now would give yourself in that first year of affiliate ownership?
Yeah, definitely. I've said this a few times, is have your processes, the important ones, documented and written down, whether that be for your expectation for coaches, how the sales process is done, when the bathroom gets cleaned, how it gets cleaned, all the things, all that kind of stuff. Super important, looking back, to have that, because it is about setting the expectation for either yourself or people that work with you or for you. Because otherwise there's just a big gray area, right? Like, I know how I like things done, but if I don't communicate that to people, then they don't know, and they think they're doing what I want. And I'm like, why isn't it getting done the way I want? So that whole kind of thing could be avoided by spending some time before and really thinking things through. And of course, it's not written in stone. These are all evolving things, but having a starting point. And I think the other thing too would be really kind of dialing in a budget, right? Can we afford that assault runner, or can we not, right? Can we afford to hire another coach, or can we not? Is this the right time to get more square footage, or is it not? I think those things are very important. And again, it's not the fun stuff that we probably got into CrossFit for, but and if you need to, solicit people to help you with that, because it'll definitely be worth it, right? Just kind of flying blind in that respect is not going to work in the long run.
For sure. So have you done any type of business coaching, mentorship, programming over the years?
Yes, I've done
All
a few.
of them?
Yeah, pretty much check all the boxes, right? So
Sure.
I did some two brain business early on. We did some active life stuff during the pandemic. And then I did a year with Affiliate U, best hour of the day as well. Even, currently I'm doing a mini MBA at the university I graduated from as well too, just to try to dial in some more of that side of the business, the real business side of the business. But yeah, and I think that through all of those things, we've taken pieces in it. And I often think that where you are, the headspace you're in as a business owner when you do those things really matters, right? So, you know, if you're not in the right mode to receive the information and act on it, or the right headspace or mindset, then I think that I think they're all awesome and they're all very effective, but it really depends on you taking action, right? Like we can read all the books we want and we can get all the advice we need, but if we don't act on those things, then it's not going to make any difference.
Do you like, I don't know how much you network with other affiliate owners, even just formally or informally, but I do see sometimes some folks scared to make the right or wrong decision, which causes someone to make no decision, which and ultimately is the worst decision. So, what's cool is that it's like, yeah, you've tried it all. And even your mindset is like, I've tried them all. I've taken what I needed from those times, and nothing ever is finite.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no like, it's not to say that I wouldn't pick up and do mentorship again with one of those companies again. It just depends on, where you are in that kind of life cycle of an owner, where you are in that kind of mindset too. Sometimes, you can't see the forest for the trees because you're in the thick of it, and you haven't figured out how to implement the stuff that you're learning. And I think that going back to the question of making decisions, I think that now I'm more of I want to have the thought process to weigh the decision and then make the decision, let the chips fall where they may, and then figure it out from there. Right. So, like you said, not making a decision is probably worse than making the wrong decision, because at least from the wrong decision, you can kind of iterate and figure it out, but making no decision doesn't give you any feedback.
Right. Do you have anything that either you or your whole team or anything that you've attempted that you would say was an absolute, not failure, but you know what I mean? It's like, oh, I don't even know why I tried or why I bothered.
Yeah, there's probably so many. Oh man, I'm struggling to think right now. I'm sure if you ask the staff, they'd probably come forth with 100 different things. I'm very fond of coming into the staff meeting and saying, "Hey, there's this thing I heard in a podcast, and maybe I want to give it a try." And they just kind of roll their eyes and say, "All right, what have we done?" Nothing's coming to mind right away, but
Okay.
I'm sure that, like I said, I'm sure that if you ask the people in the gym or you ask the people around, that there's probably been a few.
And I
Oh,
mean, I guess, well, and that's what I'm more honestly curious about. Is it through we've done so much that I can't think of anything offhand, or it's just no, we haven't tried anything?
no, it's
Yeah,
definitely that we've tried stuff. Something that comes to mind is yoga. We've
sure.
tried yoga and it didn't really work out because if people want yoga, they seem to want to go to a yoga facility, right? Not a CrossFit gym and do yoga on our mats, or spin. We did some spin classes, and I think what we've learned from some of these things that we've tried before is that when you try to do too many things and you try to please too many different people, that you end up pleasing no one, right? So I think those are some of the ones that definitely we trialed and we thought, give it a shot. But it didn't really work out. But then again, we've had stuff, like we've had a kids program for pretty much kids and teens program the entirety of since we've been an affiliate, so stuff like that has definitely worked. And then the other ones, trial and error. You give them a little bit of a chance, and if they don't work, then pull them off and focus your energy on whatever the next thing is, or just focus your energy on the main thing.
Well, and I think what's a big differentiator between those things that I'm hearing is teens and kids is CrossFit.
Yeah.
The other things you could almost line up with almost absolute certainty. All the things that were not CrossFit that we tried, it's like, oh, yeah, of course it didn't work because it's not CrossFit, and that's what we do.
No, you're 100% right. Like this stuff that's been successful for us, teens, kids, team training, all those kind of things personal training, they're all CrossFit, just kind of packaged differently for the person that, or the people that are consuming them, right? So I think you're right. Once we get outside of that and we get a little bit outside of our wheelhouse, where maybe there's not as much passion and we're doing it because we think that's the next thing, or that's the thing that we need to do, it doesn't really work out. And people come to a CrossFit gym for CrossFit for the most part. Same thing, same with boot camps and CrossFit Light and programs like that, where we've definitely done those before, and they just, the goal was to get people into CrossFit from those programs. And now we've maybe figured out a better way to do that without all the intermediary steps.
For sure. And I guess, it should almost come with a preface to say, don't let this conversation be a deterrent to not try. I think all people should try a boot camp, should try them and say, like, okay, because again, it's almost the same as trying a different mentor and whatnot. Is whatever you do, you have to learn from it.
Yeah. And it's also, if it works and you've figured out how to make it work, and then 100%. I'm not saying don't do all the things. I mean, we've just gone through a bunch of stuff that maybe we didn't have packaged the right way, dialed in, coached the right way. And we're just, as we said before, we're not afraid to take a chance and make a mistake, but those were pulled off the shelf for now, and who knows, maybe they come back at another point.
Yeah. My manager and I were meeting at the start of the year, and I said, we're in our, we know who our people era is. Like, we know enough now of trying to, like, we're good at sales, but we can pretty much say, like, I can sell you on 1 month, but I could almost predict after that you wouldn't be here for 2. And it's like, and it's like, okay, let's focus more on our core product, refining that. But when you first started talking about your gym, I think there'd be something that a lot of people would be interested in that we should talk about. Is, you said you have 2 full-time coaches?
Yes, I do.
So let's spend a little time on that, because I do think, any affiliate owner listening would be interested. I think that's the dream of every affiliate owner, is like, hey, how can I get just 1 full-time coach, let alone 2? And rather than be like, how did you do it? What are just some tips that was helpful for you that could be applicable to someone else?
I think for the first step, these were coaches that were part-time and just, had started with us, again, become really integral parts of our community, and showed a desire to take on more, to want to do more. And when that opportunity came around, where we said, okay, I think we can do this, we can provide, a full-time position for you, having that. And I'll admit, when we first started, it probably wasn't as dialed in as maybe we are now. And I'm not saying we're dialed in, but these are the things that we, along with coaching, these are the things that are the day-to-day tasks. These are the things you're responsible for, and having ways to track that too, right? Like, okay, you're responsible for specialty programs. Okay, what does that look like? What is the, compensation? How does that work? What is the structure? Having a structure for the coaches to be able to see what's expected, and then go ahead and have some of their own initiative too, I think was super important. Like, you need to have the framework, but you also need to give them the flexibility to go out and try things and do things, right? And because if you, as an owner, myself, think that I know everything, then I'm really shutting myself off to some potentially really great ideas. So I think figuring out what the responsibilities are in that role, and giving them some flexibility to bring new things to the table, I think is super important too. Again, having it laid out so there's not a lot of gray area, what the expectations are, and be ready to evolve that as well. Some of the good stuff that I picked up from some of the mentorship is having scheduled, check-ins and saying, here's where we're at, and what does this look like? How are you feeling about the whole thing? This is what I see. This is what, you tell me you see, and then we kind of go through that process as well. So being able to have open conversations and having regular feedback, I think, is important. We have, weekly meetings where we can go over anything that's come up and track some important stuff for us as a gym and say, how are we doing on that? So I think that's important. You need to have that framework for the coach, not just like, congratulations, here's the keys.
Yeah. And it sounds like, I mean, even having multiple owners, but as you said, like they're not involved in the day to day like you are. Clearly, it takes a village to do this, and you have no problem, as you said already, asking for help, not only from your community, but from your staff. Do you think more affiliate owners could do a better job of either delegating, eliminating, or automating?
I'm sure, for sure. I mean, I know I can do a much better job of all of those as well too, right? I'm still not the best at doing some of those things, and I need to get better, and I'm trying to get better at that. But 100%, I think that we all, and I've heard this before, and I'm sure you agree, we've all, as CrossFitters, we are used to doing hard things, and we like to grind, and we like to, work hard. And sometimes the answer to the problem is not just work harder. I mean, sometimes it is, but sometimes it's not. And being able to seek help and in places where you know that you need improvement is a really good thing, and something that I wish I had learned a lot earlier. Everyone likes to think that they are the best at everything. That I'm the best cleaner of the bathrooms, I'm the best newsletter writer, I'm the best, coach, I'm the best whatever. And that's not always the case. And that could be a tough pill to swallow sometimes, because no one likes to think that they're subpar at some of those things. But the fact of the matter is, sometimes and most of the time, there's someone who can do that better and allow you to have the freedom to do maybe things that you are better at. So if you can get the people in the places that they're excited to do the task or the job, then I think it'll shine through in the finished product. So that's something that still working on, but we're getting better at, trying to put people in those places where they're excited to learn and grow. And I mean, like for example, with our coaches, being able to build some specialty programs that they're passionate about and they want to get people excited about, that's been great. And it's an opportunity for them to make a bit more money as well too. Some of the personal training stuff, social media, I'm 50 years old. I'm probably not the best social media person in the world, but so we've got, one of our full-time coaches does that, and she does a phenomenal job at it. And, I couldn't do that nearly as well as she can. She's got her finger much more on the pulse of stuff like that. And even as I said, my brother doing some of the sales, he's just better at it. And I'm okay. I'm okay with that. So yeah, being able to ask for help, delegate, find people that can do things that you can't is a really, really important part of being an affiliate owner. And I don't know if I used to vocalize it, but asking for help is a sign of weakness. Is definitely not a sign of weakness. It's a sign of strength. So that's something that I'm getting better at and continue to want to get better at as well.
Yeah, you nailed it in all aspects, but it's exactly like we're used to doing hard things. We can do the open to close, long full pulls. But I honestly think the hardest thing any affiliate owner could do is being comfortable with successfully working less. You know what I mean? Is like being comfortable with being able to work 12 to 15 hours, take a paycheck, and have the thing just run. That's very uncomfortable for a lot of people, and they avoid that discomfort.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, to be honest, that's kind of where we want to be. But at the same time too, you're still popping into the gym and, making sure things are running and things are getting done. And you really want to be there, because I love being at the gym, and I think we all do, right?
Yeah.
And I think the goal is that gym mare where you're going to go in there and shake some hands and kiss the babies and talk to some people and work out and maybe coach a class or two a week. But I think that, as you said, sitting on your hands, and I'm not saying not doing anything, but not being in there in the thick of it, mopping up a spill or doing whatever, it is hard, right? It is hard to step away and not have that feeling in the back of your head that things are not getting done the way you want. And I think that's pretty typical and normal for an entrepreneur or a business owner, but definitely something that it would be a lot less stressful if you could just kind of let go and know that it's in good hands.
Well, and the people want to invest in it, right? Like they want to. I made a big mistake early, as you said. Like, I'm good at these things, so I'm going to do them. I made a big mistake by not letting my team do stuff, feeling like I was isolating myself. It's like, no, I was just isolating them. I was keeping them in the corner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's so many amazing things that have happened at the gym that have definitely not come from me. Have come from the staff, from our full-time staff, our part-time staff. You know, we have an adaptive athlete program that we started about 6 years ago, and that was through, you know, a relationship. One of the members has a daughter with Down syndrome, and we created that program with her help, their help, right? And now it's become this amazing program that runs 3 times a week, and you know, we've got athletes who've gone to the CrossFit Games, and we've got people that come and get off medication, and that's all through stuff that was created by other people, and we just kind of have a platform that they can do things like that. And that's what I always say to the staff, is that we have this amazing platform and we can pretty much do anything. We just have to figure out how to do that.
Cool. How can people find your affiliate?
Online, we're at alllevel.ca. Instagram is All Level CrossFit, and Facebook, same thing, All Level CrossFit. I think that's pretty much the extent of our socials. We're tinkered around with TikTok, but again, like I said, I'm 50 years old, so I'm not really sure how that's going. So yeah, that's where you can find us. You know, send us a message through any of those things. You can hit me up, John at alllevel.ca, on email, and yeah.